Okay, this is our first Bloc design talk.
Woo!
Yay! And I made this as useful, since we're recording it, I made it as useful for both us and our students. And Aria asked for it, so if you want more design talks, you have to ask. We're going to talk about the principles of good design, and we're going to apply it to Bloc. And we're going to basically use a well-known framework for talking about design. So now, in the future, when I ask for design feedback, you all know what to do. So a little history lesson. So right now, most of our design happens on the web and apps. It's like UI and UX. That's the term we use. But how did it come about? Because apps are really, it's only been around for like 10, 15 years max, maybe. So started in the 1990s. We have machines, industrialization, and it was all about skilled labor. Wasn't really necessary anymore because they were being replaced by machines. But World War II, we have airplanes. So then came around the study of human factors in ergonomics, where they were researching how to make airplanes easy to use for pilots. And that's where you have like all the dials and all the meters. It's a really complicated system, and it's really easy to mess up in a really dangerous situation. So you don't want to do that. And then in the 1940s, but in the 1990s, early 1990s, 1900s, people were really pissed off because they were losing their jobs to machines. It was really tedious work, very trivial work. But then in the 1940s is the Toyota production system, still a factory system. But they started to take human input into mind. That's where we came up with it, and on cord. It's like an emergency cord that you literally pull to say, stop, I have a problem with this. This is a human issue, not a machine issue. Let's start thinking about how we can make this process better for humans. And then computers came around in the 1970s. Cognitive science emerged as the field, the study of how human beings process information. Xerox PARC, the first sort of graphical user interface. And then the study of computer-human interaction. But what you'll note is that they put computers first, not humans, computers. So a lot of the jobs around there were like very systematic engineering job titles, human factors researcher, information architect, the usability engineer. But then came along like the rise of the personal computer. Everybody had one, and then this is where we start to put humans first. We now call it human-computer interaction. And then one of the founding fathers of the field, Don Norman, he wrote The Design of Everyday Things. Web came about. Now everybody has personal phones and personal computers. And we started to really focus on people first instead of computer first. And that's reflected also on the job titles. Like user experience designer, interaction designer, user researcher instead of user engineer. This is Don Norman. He's the one that first sort of invented the term user experience. Because I thought human interface and usability were too narrow. I wanted to cover all aspects of the person's experience with the system, including industrial design, graphics, interface, physical interaction, touch, that kind of thing. Don now works with Jacob Nielsen in a consulting group called Nielsen Owner Group. He's not he doesn't approach UX as cohesively as Don does. He's criticized for sort of like ignoring things like typography and graphic design. He's very much focused on usability, efficiency, like conversion rates. Like, is this the fastest way to get things done? So still a little bit stuck in this part of history, but that's okay. What he did come up with, though, is a really good system for thinking about usability and of user interfaces. And he came up with this nice little list of 10 things to consider when evaluating, thinking about, and designing user interfaces to make it easy to use for people. So we're going to walk through each one of these with examples, and we're going to talk about how Bloc either succeeds in each one or fails in each one. So the first one is visibility of system status. This means that the user should always know what's going on. A really good example of this is loading states, error messages. If you're in the checkout flow, it tells you what step of the flow you're in. Here's a Bloc fail. Do you know what's happening here on this page? Or why this is a fail?
It returned no mentors. It returned no mentors, but it doesn't tell you that.
Yeah, we don't know. It does have a loading state. It does have a loading state, but if there's no mentors, then it shows up blank. What's happening? Is it an error on my end, Bloc's end? What can we do to fix this? Bloc win, we do have loading messages, loading states in many parts of the app. That's a good thing, but this is a room for improvement, and we're working on it. Number two, a match between, it's not fixed, but we're working on it. A match between the system and the real world. This means that the user interface, it shouldn't be overly technical. It should use either metaphors or things we know about, like the save icon. That was a good metaphor in the beginning, not anymore. This is a horrible error message. This is computer speak, not human speak. Like all I can do is click OK and agree with it. Here's an example of a Bloc fail. So a match between the system and the real world. This is like where we start to see inconsistencies between what we're telling the student and what they actually did already. So we send out a receipt. The student in particular, they already paid through Earnest, but we're telling them they still owe $1,250. That's not true because they're working through Earnest. So that's an inconsistency between what they already did and what the system is telling them to do. This is fixed. They don't get this anymore. Number three, user control and freedom. This means allowing people to undo their actions. Removing things from a cart. Google has a feature, but you have to go into your settings and turn it on, so if you want it, you have to look for it. Can you think of any other examples? Either at Bloc, that's good or bad, that's working or not working, or in the real world.
Canceling a Lyft ride? Like canceling a Lyft ride?
Yeah.
When you like type something on your phone and you shake it and it says, do you want to undo this?
Mm-hmm. What about Bloc?
Does like changes requested / updating an assignment count?
That's a good one. So the students, sometimes we have, once a checkpoint is approved, we don't accept any more submissions. But in the past, we have mentors that want the student to redo the work, or the student wants to restart the program, but we can't let them resubmit. Anything else?
Yep. Most people, unless they're admins, won't have seen this, but when we set up a payment plan for students, we are able to preview as admins the payment plan before we actually create and submit it. So that allows us to make sure that if there's an unanticipated charge distribution, we can go back and change that before we actually commit to it.
I like that one. It's not quite an example of like undoing, and there's a separate one for that. I wonder, maybe we can switch it. Oh, this one, 5 error prevention. So for payment plans, we preview the payment schedule, make sure all the amounts are correct before we confirm it, because it's actually really hard to undo. That's the 5th one. Google has colon again. It detects if you have the word attached in your email, and it makes sure you have attached it before you send the email. Can you think of anything else for your prevention?
Well, for the one before this, on the Bloc platform, you can undo a dropout. So if you accidentally drop someone out, you can undo that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an example of the previous one, not this one.
I don't have anything for this one. If you think of it, we'll come back to it. I'll go back and forth.
I gave a great one.
Huh?
I gave a great one.
Yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, the payments one.
You skipped the Bloc one.
I do
for free.
later, when I redo this talk. The fourth one that we skip is consistency and standards. If things are consistent, users don't have to guess. It's really easy to develop a mental pattern in your head and expect what your things to be. There's a reason why all websites look the same. There's a reason why there's always a header on top, and the login is always on the right, and the logo is on the left. And then maybe there's a menu somewhere in the middle. It's easy to understand, it's easy to find. And what's important, why it's important to have a good UI system. Like, here is a bad example. You can't tell whether it's a form field or a button. It should be distinct enough, but it should be consistent. At Bloc, there's actually a really big problem with consistency with time and time zones. We did a terrible job of it. In this example, it's really hard for us to figure out, like, they know when their end date is, but not their exact end time. And sometimes in different parts of the app, it'll say different things. So maybe on the roadmap, it'll say your end date is October 17th, but then on the profile page, it'll say the end date is October 16th. So there's a bug there, or maybe not. Sometimes the time changes also depending on the user that's looking at it, right? If the user is in a different time zone, then it might be slightly different. So there's inconsistencies between what the user sees, what the student sees, and what the mentor sees. And also between different parts of the application. In this particular case, this was because there was not a match between what the student was seeing on the roadmap and what admins and mentors are seeing on the account profile. And what happened here was that the program ended earlier than the student expected because we were telling them different things or giving them conflicting information. This specific student's case was resolved, but this is still sort of a bug in the platform that we should think about. Any other examples of inconsistencies?
From like an admin side, I can think of one that's really confusing. Calling assessments interviews and calling interviews assessments.
Oh, the terminologies
Yeah.
that we use. What's the difference between a mock interview and an assessment? What else? I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah, like
Even
even
just some of the business speak that we use.
yeah, even in the like profile page, it'll have interview note, but then assessments listed in the outcomes tracker.
And sometimes it's not
Sometimes,
clear whether or not what we're talking about when we use the word course.
right, yeah, I was thinking of that too.
Course could refer to the entire program or a subset of the program. So, yeah.
Yep. Peer prevention, we already went over that. Thank you, Ariel. Number 6, recognition instead of recall. So it's giving the user hints about what or predicting what they might want to do. An example is autofill, super helpful. Calendar is a good example. It's a lot easier to remember I need to do something 2 Saturdays from today instead of on this specific date and type that in a field. At Bloc, in one of our mentor availability tools, we have search, which has like fuzzy search, which helps autofill. We also have this mentor availability tool, where we can search for upcoming students that have recently enrolled. And that will autofill all of this information. So we don't have to look up that specific student when we're already on a phone call and running out of time. Anything else? I don't think I have a fail for this one. I'm sure there's some. Okay.
Hold on, can you just go
Yeah.
over what's happening on the left side?
On the left side,
Yes.
it's an IDE where you're
Okay,
typing in
yeah,
your
yeah.
own name and then it autofills it.
Yep.
So instead of having to keep track of all the variable names you use, it brings up that help for you. It makes it faster, it speeds things up. You can find it easily. Predictive. Another one, flexibility and efficiency of use. This is usually sort of the power user toolkit. For experienced users, there's these tips and tricks to help them get to what they want even faster. One I use a lot is sort of email search. Like, I know it's in there somewhere and I remember parts of it, but I don't remember, and I can usually search my way through it instead of tabbing through and reading through every single email in my inbox. Very useful. I don't have a Bloc example, think of one. Or a real world example is good too.
I have one on the user page looking at like the history of the enrollments. You can either look at all of the details or just like the summarization of the different actions. So like if you show all details, that's like the
Like the
power
show all
user.
class.
Yeah.
That one.
It's a good
How about anything where it's hard to use for power users? Or hard to customize? This is often related to customization. Yeah.
In our search bar, it only searches names. So like if we were able to add in mentor or student, that would give us more flexibility. But right now it's just searching on the name.
The dashboard is also a good example. A mentor dashboard. We don't give a lot of permissions over how users manage their emails. If we decide to send them, they're going to get them, and then they filter it in their inbox. The eighth one, this is where I start getting the visual stuff. This is the only visual thing, really. Aesthetics and minimal design. So basically the keep it simple rule, only show what you need. This is the IA Writer app, where it just focuses on writing. A lot of Bloc CMSs do not meet this rule. You have to click up 50 times if you want to move a checkpoint up 50 times. And it reloads 50 times the page. Any other examples you can think of? I think a lot of times this can go, people focus too much on minimalism and it goes into the other direction where things become too hard to find or sort of there's not enough information or, yeah.
Like Snapchat.
Yeah. Like that one.
Yeah.
You're just an old person.
Snapchat's power users, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Only power users.
The discoverability for Snapchat is difficult, but it's actually got a pretty substantially simple design.
If you want to do the
And
basic
interface.
things, take a video, send it to people, you can do that. Straightforward. The ninth one, help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. So the one thing you don't want to do is tell people something went wrong and there's nothing they can do about it. So admit the page is wrong, but they give them solutions for how to sort of get it fixed. Facebook, it doesn't tell you that your password is wrong. It tells you very specifically, this is your old password. You changed it on this date. If you don't remember that you changed it, well, you got to contact support really fast. Check your credit card and make sure your identity hasn't been stolen.
Man, we're really bad about this.
Mhm.
The mentor availability has C console for errors.
Yeah.
When you have that query, if a lot of stuff, there's more than one place in our application where the error message is email help@bloc.io for more, like instead of like telling them what's actually going wrong, or like, it's just like this, there was an error, please email whoever. We could do a lot better at this.
At least they have an action step. I think we could do better with telling them specifically what went wrong, if we know about it, if we know what went wrong. But at least we give them a way to fix it. Here we don't give them a way to fix it. This is really intimidating for a beginner. I feel the workshop app in particular is riddled with these problems. Sometimes it's the test itself. Sometimes it's just a run error with the code, but to a person that's new to coding and hasn't ever seen these messages before, it's very intimidating. And for something like this, it doesn't give them like that action step to fix it. And a lot of times I don't like that they're struggling with it. So lots of opportunities here, not an easy fix. But a lot of these things we can think about how we can start building systems around it. Help and documentation. So it's better if we don't need help and documentation, but it's also, if we need it, it should be there. And it should be easy to find. We have an FAQ. It's like a really simple way of doing it. Tooltips is also an easy way to do it. Sometimes like a question mark. What does this mean specifically? You can always avoid it, but if you do it, remember number one and make it, or number two, make sure it's easy to understand. Any Bloc examples here? Or real world examples?
We have an FAQ. We have an FAQ.
We do.
In the roadmap, there's like helpful links.
Within the engineering team, we actually put a lot of emphasis on making sure that when we deal with elements of the code base that are not well understood, that we also, the task is not finished until there's appropriate documentation so that the rest of the team can go back and reference it. So anytime that we're dealing with, I don't know, some website tracking, like what's the Google thing, or Marketo, that if we need to understand how the integration works with our platform, that we'll have some kind of documentation, and if something has changed, then we update our documentation to reflect that.
I like that. Applying UX to processes.
In the extremely busy edit enrollment modal, we have, when you click on each of the actions, there's a description of what the action does and who should be doing it. So like, if it's like, you have to put we explain why you need to put a reason if you're down facing someone, or like, it says like, I just put up a diff for the manually setting a student's program module, or their current module. and it says like what, based on the text that you gave me, what the reasons are for why you want to update it, so that you know, okay, I probably shouldn't do this if I'm not making one of these situations.
Building documentation into the user flow of the process is also a good way to do it.
Our payments page is missing it.
What page?
Like making adjustments to payments is missing it.
It's a work in progress. Actually, this will probably be relevant to many of our students, but automated testing is widely regarded as living documentation, because if your automated tests fail, then that means that something is wrong. But the first part about writing automated tests is a description of what exactly that test is supposed to be doing. So, or what that test is supposed to be asserting on. So, I mean, it's similar to the process that applying design thinking to process, but in a very real world way that many teams across the spectrum of, or across this industry apply and adhere to. And I believe that we try and teach test-driven development as well, so.
Cool. So here's a review of it. A lot of these are related, right? A lot of the examples that we use. So, like if we use the form as an example, a form should have a visibility of system status. Is this field correct or incorrect? It gives you a way to, number 9, fix it. So it's wrong, but tell me why. Am I missing a character, or is my password not long enough? That kind of thing. And that's also ties to error prevention, right? If we tell them before they submit the button, then they only need to reload the page once. Or they can figure it out as they're filling out the form. Cool. Like it. And then for our students watching, discussion. Is there anything about these that you would change, or add, or remove? Nelson's not the only one that came up with his 10 principles of design. This is the only the one I'm using because it's the most applicable to UI and usability.
I feel like some of them might be different if you're talking about like a handheld device, something like size of buttons in terms of usability. Like mobile views of websites might have different top 10 heuristics as opposed to like these general ones, because there's like a physical restriction on like how you're interacting with the page. So
What do you call that?
Physical usability maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of these, it's interesting when you start thinking about how you apply these to new interactions or new user interfaces, phones, watches,
VR.
chatting, VR, environmental interaction. Any other questions? Cool. For the students watching at homework, conduct a heuristic analysis of one of your own projects or of your favorite app. It's useful to get used to using the design language when talking about your design work to other designers. You should be really specific and give a reason behind why you think something is good or bad. It's not, well, this feels wrong because use one of these and give a reason behind it. It also helps us interviewing.
So, wait, hold on. Could you give an example of how you might discuss Snapchat using design thinking in a more design jargony way, as
Okay.
if you were talking about, as if you were talking to Claire or Emily, who are former designers on
Yeah.
the team.
So a really common interview question is pick your favorite application and talk to me about the user experience of it. And they use a really vague term, but what they really want you to do is critique it. And you can talk about things like, oh, it's really engaging, right, because of this and that reason, or it's ephemeral, like that's a unique feature that's not in other apps. But if you wanted to focus specifically on user interaction and usability, you could use something like this, right? When you're talking to somebody, how would you use this to talk about Snapchat? Like, go through the list. Like, is it Snapchat good or bad at this? And give an example of how the part of the Snapchat user interface that succeeds or fails in this. And for this, it's usually, an entire app is usually too broad, so let's focus on sending a Snapchat story to all your followers.
Okay. So recognition is pretty phenomenal, and Snapchat, you can recognize the button in the middle is very similar to the button in the middle that you would use on your phone's application for a camera, and so there's consistency there, and that also ties into the consistency and standards. They've mirrored the user experience of other applications that take photos, and then they use icons that are very similar to these icons that are very similar, like I believe it's an airplane or something like that, or maybe it's an arrow, but regardless, yeah, it's an arrow. But it clearly shows that you would progress to the next step. I'm trying to remember as far as aesthetics of minimalist design.
How about something that Snapchat does not do well?
Well, the help and documentation is incredibly lacking throughout the interface. It's not clear what you need to do in order to go to a filter, for example, or how to access a filter. It's not clear how to diagnose if something went wrong. I mean, what they do well is like the visibility of system status. If you don't have connection to the internet, they'll definitely let you know that and say try taking the snap later. But at the same time, it's not easy to recover if something has gone wrong. And
Yeah, there's nothing that says, oh, did you mean to send this to your entire, like all of your followers? It's like, no, I didn't. I really didn't.
There's no like error prevention.
Yeah, there's no
That's
recovery.
like something you would say when talking to somebody at Snapchat. And then we make the trade-offs. Design's all about trade-offs, right? Maybe we don't care about that. Maybe we have other priorities. But maybe if, say, we wanted to get more users in their 30s and 40s, then we need maybe an onboarding flow, a warning when they're sending it to people that they might not want to send it to. And maybe develop user groups for them. Or maybe we don't care about that. We want to focus on teenagers and tweens and people, the millennials. And we'll do other things, right? We'll use language that the millennials understand. Instead of a broader language, we'll use icons that they understand. That kind of thing. If you want to learn more, Those are a couple of the other lists I talked about. Dieter Rams is an industrial designer. Bruce, an interaction designer. They have their own principles and lists. Not as well known and not as used as Nielsen's usability heuristics. It's a common UX sort of user research process. Like you're giving a project very broad goal, how would you improve this? And you just go through this list. It's really hard too, so that's why practice is important. But there's more if you want to think about it. The best UX book for me is Don't Make Me Think. It's a usability focused book, and it's very short. It's really easy to read, and
By Steve
it talks about a lot of these systems making things simple, easy, memorable. Again, ties back to cognitive science. Don't make me spend so much energy processing information. And if you want to learn about visual design, I recommend Design for Hackers book. Thank you.
I have a question. If I'm a student and I want to complete my homework, where should I send it?
Send it to your mentor. Or post it in Slack.
Send it directly to Sanny.
You can send it to Sanny at Bloc.io, SANNY. I think most people know. If you don't know, you can ask. It will be in the blog post, my contact information.
Yay.
Thank you.